No one's playing better right now than Dak, and he was asked yesterday about being mentioned in the MVP conversation. Here's what he had to say about that.
What I say to myself is I haven't done you know what I mean? It's regular season, numbers are great, we're getting wins, that's what's most important, but at the end of the day, we're trying to stack and keep growing this team to make sure that we're getting better each and every week.
I mean, what are we supposed to do if Dak's going to say he ain't do nothing? Like
He took your bet.
The whole thing that we do is say, hey, Dak, you're playing MVP level football. Do it in the playoffs, even though it's not the playoffs. So what are we supposed to do if Dak undercuts our whole industry? Come on, Dak.
Dak got hold of the rundown is what happened.
Dak playing chess.
Part of the show. Look, the schedule's going to get tougher, right? Obviously, I mean, like they have the Seahawks and they have the Eagles again, and then it gets tougher after that. Do you expect him to keep playing at this level, even against the tougher competition?
Oh, 100%. And I got to give a shout out to Mike McCarthy as well, right? Him and Dak are so in sync right now, they're finishing each other's sentences. It's him, two things. We talked about the red zone offense early in the year. They were really struggling. Well, 18 out of the last 26, they scored a touchdown. Ooh. We talked about pre-snap motion for them to be able to get guys open and give Dak coverage tails and move CD Lamb around. Well, they were using it 39% of the year before the bye. Now they're using it 60% of the time. And then this last game against Washington, that blowout game on Thanksgiving, 79% of the time they use pre-snap motion. So for me, it's Mike McCarthy saying to everyone that called his offense archaic and said that the game had passed him by and said that he was a terrible coach. He came back and he made the changes that he needed to make to get his guy rolling. And Dak Prescott is playing at not just at an MVP level, but the guy we just talked about in Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, he's above Jalen Hurts right now because of the way that he's played. After the bye, I think he's had 4 300 passing yard games. He hadn't had any before that.
RG3 said a mouthful there, and here's the thing. He's not wrong, like, at all. I think one of the unsung heroes of the Dallas Cowboys season, and honestly, one of the big things that make this particular Dallas Cowboys team special is for the first time, and I feel like forever, I feel like as a fan, I'm speaking for me personally, y'all let me know down in the comments below if you feel this same way, but as a fan, for the first time in as long as I can remember, I feel like the coaching staff is perfectly in sync with the players that we have available on the roster and how they're trying to use them. Of course, there's a couple of tweaks here and there. Some people may want other players to play a little bit more often, but as far as the roles that the players are being deployed in, I feel like this is the first time I have watched the Dallas Cowboys team that looks as comfortable and the players understanding what they need to do and what their objectives are when they set feet on that field. And my goodness, it's a beautiful thing to watch. This is the very same thing. And before y'all even get started, I know there's trolls that watch these videos now. Before y'all get started, no, I'm not about to be like, the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. Do I have confidence that they're a Super Bowl contender? 100%. But I am about to state an objective fact. The Super Bowl teams that you usually see win every single year, they're all running in sync. You usually don't see the players having to play against their own coaching. You don't see the coaches having to overcome what the players are doing. Usually you see the coaches and the players on the same page and they're moving in a synchronized fashion. We saw this with the New York Giants the year that they made a miraculous run to the Super Bowl and beat Tom Brady the first time. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, they were pretty much rolling. Aaron Rodgers was playing some of the best football of his career. He played comfortable. He played in command. You could tell that the players had control and a clear understanding of what they were doing on the field, regardless of what Aaron Rodgers wanted to say about Big Mike. I think now as a Dallas Cowboys fan, we can take a step back and be like, okay, hold on. Maybe Mike McCarthy wasn't getting enough credit for what he was able to accomplish in Green Bay, because even if the players felt like some of the things that he was scheming up was getting in the way, at the end of the day, Mike McCarthy empowered his players to play up to their full potential, and I believe we're honestly seeing that again. And the players, the coaches, and pretty much everyone surrounding the Cowboys are saying some of the same things.
It goes again to the preparation that we put into this thing. Obviously, I mean, we feel good about what we've got. We feel good about the players that we have, the plays that we're going to call, the matchup, the film study we've had, the preparation, the game plan. Credit these coaches week in and week out, and they're dialing up things and putting playmakers in their best position, and It's confidence, you know what I mean? And
Indeed, the Cowboys have been on a incredibly white-hot stretch after the bye week. And honestly, this started a little bit before the bye week. I mean, if we take a look at what the offense was actually doing prior to the bye week and what Dak Prescott was doing prior to the bye week, Dak was actually playing really, really well at certain points in the season. It was just inconsistent. For instance, he had a really good game against the New York Jets, posting 112.2 quarterback rating, and this was in the second game of the season with an 89.7 QBR, which is incredibly high and his second highest number of the entire season, even during this hot streak. He also had a really good game against the New England Patriots, in which he posted a 79.1 QBR and 108.5 quarterback rating. But there's one thing that you can notice, even within these great stats, there's one thing that's extremely different in these games than it was after the San Francisco game, and that is the average depth of target. After the San Francisco game, which, if y'all remember a few videos ago, really a couple of weeks ago, when we talked about this, I said that game was probably a blessing in disguise, because that's when Dak Prescott decided to die on his sword instead of on his shield. And I feel like Mike McCarthy probably got a little bit more flexible with his plan and started to trust his players a little bit more. Dak, the receivers, everybody involved. I feel like Big Mike honestly started to really kind of involve the players in the game plan, and we heard that from some of the clips that we just heard.
Snap to Prescott, fake to Pollard, deep and going to the middle, and there's Cooks all alone.
RG, you don't want to call more, but no. You don't want to call more plays, no. He stole them all.
That was awesome.
What you called your own shot? Yeah, during the week. He didn't have it in. So I went to coach and I told him, tell the request is coming from me. Just have it in there. But that's trust that he called it, though.
It's a really big deal when your coaches are starting to trust you. And when you get to the point where players can go up to your coach and ask them to install certain things in the game plan because you think that you see something. Because sometimes some of these, especially veterans with the caliber of Brandon Cooks, someone who has posted multiple 1,000-yard seasons with multiple different quarterbacks on multiple different teams. He's seen a lot across the NFL, so he knows what looks work for him. He knows what he's comfortable running. And for him to be able to go to Big Mike and be like, hey, can we put this in the game plan? Even if you don't call it, I just really want it in there. And for Mike not only to put it in the game plan, but to call it and it to lead to a touchdown, and a rather easy one at that, that is the ultimate sign of the coach and the players being on the same page. And that is exactly what you need to see out of any Super Bowl contending team. Think about the Kansas City Chiefs and the run that they've been on. A lot of that credit has been given to Andy Reid and the fact that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes seem to be in lockstep with each other. Think about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Tom Brady was commanding that offense while Bill Belichick was seemingly keeping the defense playing in a complementary phase as it pertains to the New England Patriots offense. Think about Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints when they finally won it. The coaches, the players, everyone was on the same page and playing amazing football at the very same time. This is what I'm saying. This is honestly the missing piece to where we can actually get further now. I'm not going to say we're going to the Super Bowl, but I'm going to say we're damn sure competing for a Super Bowl. We're damn sure competing for a Super Bowl this year, and we're going to be a very, very hard out for anyone. And I do not think, I will bet my bottom dollar on this, we will not see one of those classic Cowboys performances where they bottom out and don't look anything like themselves in a loss in the playoffs. Because that's what we've been seeing when the Cowboys lose. They don't look like the team that we're normally seeing, and they don't play up to their full potential. I feel like if the Cowboys lose this year, we will see them lose while playing at a very high level. And I think that's all you can really ask for as a fan of any professional sports team, is if you're going to take an L, at least take one that's not embarrassing. At least take one where you can actually say, damn, the other team just won a very hard-fought competitive game. That's the type of L's that you are comfortable with taking. Not that any of them are honestly what we want, but we're going to take L's, bro. We're rooting for professional sports. Only one team wins every year, and the same team doesn't win every single year. So you're going to take an L. But the whole point being, the Cowboys are playing at a much different level, and back to the point I was making, Dak Prescott's average depth of target is going up extremely high after that San Francisco 49er game. The highest average yard per attempt that he averaged for an entire game before the San Francisco 49er game was 7.7, and that was against New England in a game in which we kind of saw him air it out a little bit and throw some pretty deep passes. After the San Francisco 49er game, the highest we have seen is 11.5. We've seen 10.3, 8.5, 9.8, 9.1 yards per attempt. That is a complete 180 from what the offense was doing in the first couple of weeks of the season. And what I think we saw happen was Mike McCarthy open up the offense, and that's exactly what he said happened. When discussing the Cowboys' offense from the first half of the season to now, Mike McCarthy admitted that he felt like the offense looked like a first-year offense in those first few weeks, meaning I felt like they were really just trying to practice some of their concepts and schemes and get down the fundamentals of the West Coast offense. After the bye week, it has been clear that they've opened it up, and Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy have talked a ton about how they feel like they're on the same page. They are synchronized. In this article on SportsIllustrated.com, it reads, the Dallas Cowboys are rolling offensively, and Coach Mike McCarthy and quarterback Dak Prescott are at the forefront of the latest optimism-inspiring push. Dallas has scored 127 points over the past 3 games, all wins. Prescott's 308 yards passing per game ranked second in the NFL in that span, trailing only Houston Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud. That boy balling. The secret to success, not so secretive. It's a finely tuned relationship with the new Texas coast offense as the centerpiece between McCarthy and Prescott. Dak said, it's about us being on the same page. We have those meetings once every week that we talk about the game plan and how we want to attack these guys. What plays I feel most comfortable with, outlining the starters, situational third downs, red zones. Dallas is coming off a 45-10 victory over the Washington Commanders on Thanksgiving, a performance spearheaded by Prescott's 331 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. It's McCarthy's first year calling plays for Prescott, and the returns are already evident. Last season, Prescott started 12 games. He's at 11 this year and is completing 4% more of his passes, has eclipsed his passing yardage total, matched his touchdowns, and thrown 9 fewer interceptions. Prescott's drawn the praise, and rightfully so, but McCarthy's work hasn't gone unnoticed by his signal caller. He's definitely on fire, Prescott said. He's firing them off the call sheet, wherever it be run, play action, whatever, but it goes into the preparation throughout the week to have clear communication and play calling purpose, and me understanding what he's expecting from not only me, but the other 10 guys on the field. I'm going to touch on that in just a second. Prescott added he has a strong grasp of the potential each play has when he sees the defensive formation and knows what needs to be done if the play call doesn't fit the look given by the defense. In essence, the 30-year-old feels right at home with McCarthy calling plays, and the feeling goes both ways. Very comfortable, Mike McCarthy said. I've done it for a long time. He's played quarterback for a long time. This is the first time that we've done it together. Something was said here, and that's the fact that Dak finally feels like he has a full understanding. He feels comfortable with the offensive system. This is not the first time we have heard him say that. He's not the first player on the offense we have heard say that. We've heard CeeDee Lamb come out and say something similar to this as far as just having an understanding of what he needs to be doing on the field. And that was probably my biggest criticism for Kellen Moore, is he didn't adjust his game plan to what his players were actually comfortable doing. And we heard Troy Aikman and Dak Prescott kind of allude to this in the clips that we've seen in this video, and that's something that I just don't understand why coordinators don't do. If you see that Dak isn't comfortable throwing double hook routes that are placed right over each other, why do you keep putting that play in the game when it's leading to interceptions more times than not? Why are we continuously calling things that players are clearly not comfortable with? Why does it seem like we don't have an answer when the defense has a look on the field that may not be what we need for the play that we're trying to run? And that was something that we saw happen several times during the Kellen Moore regime when he was offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore just seemed like he had a lack of ability to adjust. Kellen Moore was just calling plays. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. He wasn't play calling within the flow of a game. He wasn't play calling towards the strengths of his team. He wasn't utilizing his best players players on the field. He wasn't doing what was necessary to get the players involved. The players did not have this level of input. We've never heard this said at any other time where the player went up to Kellen Moore and said, hey, put this in, and he put it in and it happened and it was successful on the field. We have never heard this happen, okay? That is the biggest difference in this Dallas Cowboys team. And I feel like this team honestly probably has the best chance out of any team that we've seen in a long time, because I feel like in years past, us as Cowboys fans have had to convince ourselves that the team would overcome the shortcomings of the coaching staff. Obviously, Big Mike has certain times where, you know, the clock management in different situations could be questionable, but I feel like most of the coaches in the league have moments like that. I mean, if you're watching any of the other NFL games, you'll see multiple times in the game where you'll be like, why did that coach make that decision? Whether it be a fourth down call, going for it at the goal line, whatever it may be, trying to get a touchdown instead of field goals. Most coaches have moments like that. But as far as the team working in concert with each other, Big Mike empowering not only his players, but the other coaches on his staff, letting Dan Quinn do his magic on that defense and let him get creative and get some exotic looks going and playing players to their strengths, letting Al Harris really work his magic with the DB room, because he's done an excellent job with the cornerbacks on the Dallas Cowboys, letting Aiden Dirty work with those defensive linemen and kind of take ownership over that position group. You see this all throughout the team, and I'm just saying, this year, the Cowboys have the potential to do something special for the very first time in a long, long time, but we'll just have to wait and see. We have an exciting 5-game stretch coming up, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so y'all can keep up with all the latest concerning the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, and the Dak attack. But either way, y'all know always in these videos how them Cowboys. I'll see you on the next one. Take it away, Pastor.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.